the thoughts on utilizing training here? All training seems to be going online these days. Inductions online and everything's online.
Brilliant, yes. So, did you hear that, Christian? There's like the talk about training.
I got that. Yeah. So I think this is really interesting because what we're seeing a lot of is bad stuff that was done in person is just being translated into bad stuff online. And so it's the conference equivalent of, right, we're going to put on a virtual thing. We're going to have a we're going to have a live thing, and then you can also have a virtual ticket to the conference, and we'll just stick a webcam at the back of the room, and that'll be fine. Right? It's crap transition of things that didn't necessarily work in the physical world into the digital world. And so, a good example would be in the physical world. If I'm going to do a training course, I have to do it for at least half an hour because I'm dragging you to a physical location. You're going to get coffee, whatever. I can't say to people, can you just turn up to a meeting room for 5 minutes? But in the digital world, we can. And so I think we shouldn't just be transitioning things that we had to do in the physical world, or we thought we had to do in the physical, into the digital space. So I see lots of people doing smart innovations of going, what works well in the digital sphere? Let's have a look at what plays well on social media. What can we do in training that uses that? And the quick answer on social media is, short videos are very effective. So why don't we take that thinking and we can serve people up very short pieces of content because the digital format permits that. Digital also permits a bit more personalization. So can we find a way to offer people different versions of the same thing? Some employees are going to want to read lots of technical detail because they're into that space. Other people just kind of want to be, you're in may depend on what information you need to have imparted. And so we can suddenly move to a world where the training that everybody receives is the same, to ones where we can start to think about, what makes sense for different people, different learning types or different roles within organizations, when we serve it to people, there's a ton more options. And so to my mind, digital offers us a huge range of options to say, how can we get to the audience? And there's lots of, and I'm big on, take a parallel from somewhere else where someone solved the problem in a different context and said, how can we? So social media for me is a really good way of thinking about how do we engage the brain. Stuff that goes viral on social media has on some level engaged a ton of humans to make it go, and some bots and everything else, but it's engaged some humans to make it go viral. What can we learn from that particular piece? And I do this with my client work. So I put stuff on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect. By the way, some of you already have. Thank you. Anybody else wants to, please feel free. I use, I test stuff out on social media and go, if I get an audience for this particular thing, and I wander around and clock things I see, like toilet cleaning schedules, and I put a post on there and I see, does it work or not? And if it flies on social media, I know I've engaged human beings, and I go, that one went really well. I can use that with clients. And so I think we can be a lot more creative, because if we're trying to get our employees' attention, one of the things that people often think about is your competition is the other bits of training internally. I would argue where we've got a workforce that are working from home or in remote locations, the competition for their attention isn't necessarily, it's stuff like Peloton, Facebook, Netflix. What else is grabbing their attention? That's what we're up against. And I think people's expectations of what we should be doing in a digital world have shifted. The pandemic forced us all to engage with platforms in ways we probably never engaged with before. And so I think the bar has been raised. And so I think it's about thinking intelligently, how can we use this format? And what's the difference between virtual and face-to-face? There are some things that are better done face-to-face. I would love to be, this would be much better if I was in the room with you, holding a beer, obviously. That would go much better. We can't make that happen. So this is better than it not happening, but we know the fact. But what are the powerful things about face-to-face? And let's use those times when we're face-to-face for things that we need to do face-to-face, or best done face-to-face. And let's deliver things digitally that can be better done digitally. And I think there's a long way to go, and a lot of laziness, particularly with training providers, where frankly, the solutions that some people have come up with, it's just like lazy as hell. And I don't think that's good enough, because I think we all know what good looks like in the digital space.